everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. Still, if you weren't here last night, you didn't see the detritus. We're at that point in the move where nothing is here, and my voice echoes off of every frickin' surface, so... Yeah, hi everyone. There's no furniture left. Like, our mattress is on the floor in the bedroom. And so, like, last night I was trying to, like, relax in the living room, but all I have is this straight-backed chair that's not actually for, like, comfort sitting. It's for doing things sitting. So you get really uncomfortable in it if you're just trying to lounge. So I put on a cozy blanket thing and literally just laid down on my yoga mat setup. And I was like, all right, well, cool. This is something, I guess. So yeah, we've reached that stage. But it's okay, because when you see me next, it will be in the new space, in the new streaming focus space, which I'm still just over the moon is something that I get to do, something that I get to have. Oh my God, it's so cool. It's so cool. So anyway, but yes, here we are. We've made it to Saturday. Hopefully your week has gone well. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning here in Colorado, which is, I don't think I ever have said that it's not. Maybe when the wildfire season was going crazy and everything was just sort of apocalyptic and terrible air quality. Maybe then. Also, it's a special experience moving during the pandemic, because of course moving means that you're kicking up a lot of dust. There's crap in the air, and you sort of like got that little tickle in your throat most of the time. It's like, cool, time to play that fun game. Is it moving or is it COVID? And I know it's moving, but it's still really obnoxious. So I'm looking forward to being in a space that's not filled with dust. Crazy, I know. I'm also looking forward to maybe cleaning on a more regular basis, which, you know, is not something that I particularly do, and probably could stand to do more of. But we're gonna have an awesome class today. I'm really excited to just sort of take an hour, settle in, and really work out, get energized for the rest of the day. I have D&D right after class, and then just moving the last of the stuff over to the new place. Holy crap. You know that it's real when the mattress finally gets over there today. Well, you know, that's the moment where you're like, okay, all right, this is real, because there's no mattress left. But yeah, oh man. It's honestly, I still stand by the fact that this has been probably the chillest move I have ever undertaken, which is really nice. Yeah, so that's been quite pleasant to feel. But yeah, so there you are. Good times, great oldies, good strength and stamina class this morning to, you know, make sure that I can carry the last bits of furniture effectively. Let me tell you, I definitely have, like, you know, we obviously feel, hi my dear, we obviously feel like our strength and our stamina increasing when we're in class itself, but there's something particularly lovely about taking those skills and those improvements and seeing them borne out in, like, real world activities. So, like, we've been moving a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy stuff, and just everything from feeling like it's so much easier to hold and maneuver heavier objects to feeling the added stability in my shoulders when I'm carrying like big boxes, so I'm not worried about the box like taking over, that, you know, core stability that I'm always yammering on about. It's been really cool. So, yay! Exercise class helps us in the real world too. Woohoo! Oh my goodness. But I did completely miscalculate what I needed to keep back in terms of clothing, which is why I'm in the same workout clothes this morning that I was yesterday. So probably a good thing that I'm alone in my living room. Oh God. But that's, you get to that point in the move, right? Where everything is somewhere else. Everything that you need in any given moment, no matter where you are, is somewhere else. And you just have to figure out where it's gone. So at some point I'll figure out where it's all gone. And that point will be soon. But yeah, definitely. I think I noticed last night. I think last night I was looking at the clothing and going, I didn't leave enough workout clothes behind, did I? All right, cool. Good thing that weight training doesn't work up a sweat in quite the same way. These things do happen. These things do happen. You know what? In the grand scheme of things, it's certainly not terrible. I may cut our stretching sequence a little short today, my friends, just because there's so much that needs to get done, and I want to make sure that I have time to do it. So we may have a little bit of an abbreviated stretching sequence, but I will try to get at least a little bit in there. Yeah, and then it's going to be a whole new world come Tuesday. Woo! All right. All right. Well, what say we get this party started? Last class in this spot where your belts have ended up. Oh God, yeah. Yeah. That, like, it's interesting because there's a lot of stuff that's still in boxes from before moving into this place, because it was like, well, this place is so small, there's no point in unpacking these boxes if we're pretty sure that they're not necessary stuff. So there's just going to be a voyage of discovery going through boxes and tubs that were packed like almost 2 years ago and being like, oh, I didn't remember having this thing. Interesting. So, yeah. But yes, last class in the space. Woo! And it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be really, really some classic weekend kickoff stuff, I think. So let's do our pre-class checklist. Hiya! We got our water. Mine's in the mason jar. I kept the mason jar here till the bitter end, dang it. Because I need to hydrate. We got our comfy clothes, whatever that means to you. We've got our mat-sized space on the floor. I know that many of you have, you know, cats at home, so you may or may not have a cat decorating your mat. Just try not to squish them. That's my only recommendation. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time to turn them on to high intensity interval training, so you can get that going. If you don't use one, don't ever feel like this is an endorsement. The fact that I have this in the pre-class checklist is an endorsement. It's super not. It's a tool that's useful for me. If it's not useful for you or it stresses you out, like, don't use it. Don't use it at all. Totally have a cat on the mat. Yep. Okay. Good. Oh, poor Clara. So Clara's hiding. But there's at least one cat on a mat. Is it asshole cat or is it cat who's afraid of ceiling fans? Because those are two very different exercise companion experiences. Oh yeah. All right. There we go. Well, good luck. I hope that your toes come out of this unmolested. All right, we got everything. We got everything, my friends. I'm going to be clearing my throat a lot because, like, literally I'm just lying in dust bunnies right now, it feels like. But that's okay because it's not even one more night. Oh, man. All right. let's get going. Let's get going. Woo! So, it's time to start with the warm-up. I'm also just like, every time the last couple of days that I've set the mat up, I'm like, this isn't where I usually put it, but I just have no sense anymore of where I usually put the mat. So, again, as I said last night, hopefully I'm actually framed well. And if not, you know the warm-up. You know the warm-up at this point. Oh my goodness, yeah. Sorry, it's been a long week, as I'm sure you can imagine. But now, we get to start on our mats, on our backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that horn, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Oh yeah. I also am still quite sore from all of the workouts this week, you know. Came off that rest week and went, yeah, and I've got all this energy and I'm really feeling it. I'm gonna really dive in and push myself this week, which is great and I don't regret it. But also I'm like, man, my calves are feeling some things, and I don't even remember what we did on Tuesday or Wednesday that would have caused my calves to get super sore. But it definitely didn't help that last night we did toe races. So, yeah, good job, Blanche. This all could have been avoided, because, you know, you're the teacher, but it's all right. Good to have those reminders of how fun it is to work ourselves real hard and just challenge ourselves. But not here. This is the warm-up, so we're booting up our systems, and given the fact that it's 9 a.m. for many of us, you know, in many ways that boot up is not just getting systems going for exercise, but also waking up our brains from sleep. You know, so never go into the warm-up feeling like you have to be blasting out of the gate, all right? And y'all know this at this point if you've taken class with me for more than, you know, one class, but it's a good thing to remind us of, because if you are having that week where you're feeling a lot of extra energy and feeling really pumped up, it's good to remind yourself that the warm-up is not the place to really push that energy. You want that energy to be maintained for the rest of class. So, you know, if I get to class and I'm like, yeah, I'm really feeling it, and I'm just gonna get off to a strong start and really push myself and lift my leg as high as it can go and really go for maximum hip rocks and bridges, and then you get through, you know, the 16-minute warm-up and suddenly you're like, wow, I feel like I don't have nearly as much energy to get through the rest of class. And that's not our goal, because we want to be able to get through class. We want to be able to maintain that energy through class. And part of that is just not blasting through all of the energy in the warm-up. So, more reminding myself, although I don't take that many reminders right now because I'm definitely feeling a little sleepy, which makes sense. You know, there's some really delightful nostalgia to sleeping on a mattress on the floor. It kind of feels like you're, you know, in your early 20s again, and just the ridiculous, wild ways that we used to exist, where like your friends had their mattresses just on the floor, and like that was totally normal, and you didn't really think anything of it. So there's this weird, like, almost coziness to it, but also I would not want that for more than a couple of days. I'm very excited to reunite the mattress with the box spring and the frame so that it can go back to being a fully realized bed. But yeah, it's very odd. It's not something that had occurred to me that I would feel nostalgia for. And I think it's more just, you know, everybody's a mess in their early 20s, absolutely. And I would never, ever want to go back to that time because, God, I love my 30s way more than I ever loved my 20s. But there is more of a, you have less of the weight of the world on your shoulders, or at least many of us did. Not everybody, obviously. I can only speak to my own experience. Maybe that's how I should phrase it. I definitely had less of the weight of the world on my shoulders. And sometimes, you know, I miss that feeling. And that's totally natural. The problem becomes when we start romanticizing those times and being like, oh yeah, the good old days when things were so much better. And it's like, well, no, things were not actually better back then. It's just that you had fewer things that you needed to worry about. And, you know, I've never particularly romanticized any of those previous periods of life, nor would I want to go back to them. Like, I love getting to continue to learn and grow and develop new skills and all of this stuff. And, you know, I just hadn't learned as much back then, and that's fine, absolutely. But it's like, why would I want to go back to a time when I was just kind of a mess? I don't really look back on that time. Like, I look back on it with fondness, but not with that, like, oh, if only I could be back in college where everything was carefree. It's like, oh, God, no, I was an idiot. Like, we were all idiots in college. So, yeah, there we go. Blanche's morning musings. They're all over the place, which is fitting, I think, given the fact that all of my earthly possessions are kind of all over the place right now, too. Not for long, though. Not for long. I do get to play some D&D today, which is always fun. I have a feeling there's probably a high preponderance of D&D nerds on among my viewers. And hello, I love you all. I've been meaning to try and catch back up with Critical Role, which always feels like an impossible task. And I've developed this really frustrating cycle with Critical Role where I will get super invested in trying to catch up from where I'll be like, you know, like 30 to 50 episodes behind, which is a huge chunk of time. Let's be clear. Those episodes are 3 hours minimum each, 3 to 5, depending. And so I'll get really invested, and I will watch everything, and I'll get within like 10 episodes of being up to date and being able to watch live, and then I'll just hit that wall where it's like, oh my God, I feel like I have been consuming nothing but this forever and ever, and I need a change. And then of course they keep making them, and so I once again fall back behind. So like, I had previously been within 10 episodes of being current, and just could not get myself through those final 10 episodes. And, you know, now they're like 20 or 30 episodes ahead of where I am. So I'm just like, oh my God. It feels sometimes like an impossible task, like a Sisyphean task, where I'm just like, I don't know that I will ever be able to do this. At some point, I might just have to bite the bullet and like read a recap and catch up, and then I can go back and watch episodes later on my own time. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to do that either, but like, it feels like there's no good way to do that because it's just an intimidating amount of content. It really is. And I love it. Absolutely, don't get me wrong, but, you know, like, I could maybe justify spending 3 to 5 hours a week watching, you know, the live stream. Can I justify spending, you know, 40 to 100 hours a week watching backlogs, trying to catch up? I don't think that I can. I think that I have other things that I want to do as well. So yeah, who knows? I do definitely want to fix up my Caleb cosplay at some point, because that was so fun. That was the first cosplay I ever did for a con. It was for Denver Pop Culture Con, 2019 obviously, since 2020 didn't happen, and 2021 is not happening either. But yeah, I went with a group of folks, and we were all cosplaying as various Mighty Nine members, and it was just super fun having that experience of walking around the con and having people recognize your costume and get really excited and wanting to take pictures of you. That was so cool. And like, it's that really wonderful community feeling that when cons are good, they're just so delightful and such wonderful gatherings of people and interests. And, you know, you can find people who share your interests, and you can discover new things that you didn't know about. And it's just so much fun. So much fun, my friends. I miss cons. I think I could just leave it there. I miss cons. I was just starting to get back into them. You know, I went to PAX South last January. That was the last con that I went to for obvious reasons. And yeah, they're huge, and they can be really overwhelming, you know. You have to, I think, plan and prepare yourself mentally for the experience of just being surrounded by so many humans. But they can just be so much fun, so much delightful fun. And yeah. And then everything shut down. Like, I had been thinking about going to Gen Con last year, and obviously that didn't happen. And I feel like Gen Con is going to be, well, not trickier. Honestly, they're all trickier. Like, how long is it going to take people to feel comfortable? You know, forget being in a space with so many humans. How long is it going to take people to feel comfortable, like, going and testing board games that thousands of other people have touched, or, you know, testing out video games using the same controllers? Like, we'll probably have to end up with a lot of, like, cleaning protocols that haven't had to exist before, and, you know, potentially that'll be a good thing, because we always hear about, like, con crud, and sort of waves of illness that people bring home, and, like, that's a very real thing. So potentially it could be a good thing to up some of the sanitary and cleaning measures, but it's just going to be a different feel, you know. I don't think that they will feel as free and easy as they did for quite some time, and that's a little sad. You know, I know I can say that about so many activities, but yeah, there's going to be a lot that has been impacted really heavily by this, my friends. And we're gonna have to take care of each other as we move back into the world and try and figure out how best to interact with it. And to be clear, we shouldn't be moving back out into the world yet. It's, you know, there are new variants of COVID all over the place, and not everybody's vaccinated. The vaccine rollout has been atrocious, and we still really need to be taking all of those precautions. Sorry, I stopped doing the warm-up because I feel very strongly about that, because we're hitting that point where, you know, I feel like a lot of people sort of came into 2021 being like, all right, everything is going to be magically better, and it'll just ramp back up really quickly, and we'll be able to move around and see our friends and travel and all of this stuff. And that was simply never going to be true. But it means that there are a lot of people trying to deal with disappointment and potentially not dealing with it well. So, yeah, we still need to be taking care of ourselves and each other. D&D nerds, shocking. In my Twitch stream, I know, that's the thing, that was when I almost caught up too, was on the, you know, beginning of COVID hiatus. You know, they were just before episode 100, I think, and I got to episode like 93, and then I just hit a freaking wall. I was like, I feel like everything is Critical Role, and I had to take a break, and then they started moving again, because obviously 2 or 3 a day, yeah, that's just too much time for me. It's why it's taken me so long to get into Twitch streams and stuff. It just feels, it's weird, and I think it says more about my own personal brain chemistry, where I can really struggle to feel okay with like sitting down and just watching something for a while. And obviously it helps to like have other things to do, and I think that's what's really gotten me better at engaging with that type of content. But with Critical Role, there's always something happening on screen that I want to pay attention to, and I just need to, yeah, I was knitting a lot too. But you just need to figure out other things that you can do at the same time. And that's, I guess, the way to go. All right, my loves, we are warmed up. Woo! Time to get going. So we are going to do a lot of long interval tabatas today. We're going to be doing our 45 seconds of work to 15 seconds of rest. So an extra 5 seconds of rest, but an extra 25 seconds of work, I think, from the 2010s. Something like that. Math is not my strong suit at this moment, as you can see. So, what's our first one? So we're going to have 2 exercises, and we're going to be alternating back and forth between them. So it's going to be that nice standardized approach. We can really focus. So the first set of exercises, we're going to do side-to-side planks to start with. So from our nice front plank position, shoulders directly over the wrists, come up onto that one arm, let the heels drop over, lift the other arm towards the ceiling, hold there for a second, let the judges see it, then back through the center to the other side, and we just go back and forth, okay? Second exercise is going to be squats with a knee raise. So taking our, actually I'm going to make this aerobics knees. So small squat, I'm going to take my feet a little closer together than I would for the squat with the knee raise. So this is about hip width, and do a nice little squat, and then stand up. So I'm balancing on one leg, I'm lifting the knee, and I'm engaging my obliques to bring the opposite elbow to that knee. And then squat, other side, squat, first side. And we just go back and forth. So it's basically the same thing, but with a little extra oblique engagement, which is always fun. All right, so let's get going. Everybody on their mats. Make sure the timer has the correct number of intervals. It does. And remember, the first sound does not mean go. So don't go. And remember too, we have extra time in the rest, which always throws me off. So if you're like, wait, this feels like a long time to wait, don't worry. Okay, so that was our knock, knock, knock sound. Awkwardly truncated. And now we're going. And remembering too that for weekend kickoff, we're not, for most of these, going to be worrying about speed. Okay? We're starting with side-to-side planks, which is shoulder strengthening and engagement, wanting to make sure that I am in control, that my shoulders are not unstable and moving around all over the place. So I'm not going for speed. I am going for deliberate side-to-side motion. And so that's okay. You know, I might speed it up a little bit for aerobics knees, but again, we're really focusing on strength and stamina. We're having a lot of really long work intervals right now, and so we need to make sure that we can keep moving the whole time. And so a lot of that means that we find a steady pace that we can maintain. We're not really going for sprints today, all right? Whew. All right. And remember, exhale on the effort can really help to energize what we're doing, right? So with something like the aerobics knees, standing up and lifting that knee is the effort. So a nice exhale helps to push you along, inspire you, give you that burst of energy, remind you to then breathe back in and get more oxygen into your body. So it's a useful physiological tool and a useful visualization tool. You don't always hear me employing it because I'm talking the whole time. So it's a lot harder for me to do like a nice, big, dramatic breath when I'm trying to maintain the lung capacity to keep talking at you like this. So just keep that in mind and check in with yourself. Make sure that you're using that as a tool. All right, speaking of, we are back around to those aerobics knees. So you really want to make sure the difference between the two exercises, it is a difference. Squat to the knee raise, we just go straight up. So there's core engagement to stabilize that balance, absolutely. the same way that we have our core engaged when we're doing like our calf awareness sequence. But the core is not generating any of that motion. With aerobics knees, the core is generating motion. It's twisting the torso so that the opposite elbow can come and meet the knee. So I don't want to just be trying to pull the elbow awkwardly across my body. I want that twist in my torso that brings the elbow along and has it meet with that knee, okay? So keep that in mind when we get back to it. Right now, we are back to, this really is one of my favorite exercises, and the exercise that I credit with really helping me to strengthen my shoulders so that I didn't continue to descend into really incapacitating chronic shoulder pain, because I definitely had some bad moments for that in 2019, I think it was. It's hard to remember because time has no meaning, but I think it was 2019, where I was over at a friend's house, and we were playing Gloomhaven, and suddenly it just felt like my shoulder was just gonna fall off. Like I literally had to lie down in their living room and awkwardly try to keep playing the game from that prone position. And you know, went home and took like 5 leaves or something like that. And they never really figured out what had happened, because when I went to my primary care doctor, she did some strength tests and didn't feel anything wrong. Nothing that made her think that I needed like an MRI. When I started going to my chiropractor, she would do the same tests and be like, I don't know how they didn't tell you that you had a lot of weakness here. And I was like, well, the person I see currently as a primary care physician is not in as good a shape as me. So there was probably just a baseline differential of strength that made it feel much more like my shoulder was totally fine. But yeah, I never figured out what it was. A little bit of, I know that I have a lot of flexibility in my connective tissue in my shoulders is something that my chiropractors talked about. So definitely having things that help to strengthen that entire joint are super important. And you know, I've talked with you about how the shoulder is just inherently our most unstable joint because it's designed for range of motion. You know, it's designed to be able to move in all these crazy directions, and that's super useful. But it means that we really have to put deliberate work into strengthening it and stabilizing it, and to know when that's necessary. So yeah, I'm about to get on health insurance again for the first time in a number of years, so maybe I'll try to get an MRI and see if there's anything actually happening in there. But yeah, side-to-side planks have definitely been one of the things to really help stabilize that whole region for me. All right. Good job, everybody. Grab some water. Oh, yeah. So much fun. So much fun. Woo woo. How's everybody doing? Enjoying yourselves so far? Hearing wild and wacky tales of the dangers of playing tabletop board games? Water is the best. Water is so good. Yeah. If I teach you nothing else, I hope I teach you a love of water. All right. So our next two exercises, we are going to do some turtle waves. So you all know the deal with the turtle waves. We start rolling up onto our shoulders, then up onto our feet, plant those hands, jump back into that plank, and then a wave push-up, just like we do in the burpees. So make sure you're keeping your elbows glued in by your sides during that push-up, okay? So we're not letting them flare out. And that's generally my request when we're doing push-ups. I like to focus the work of push-ups on the triceps. And so keeping those elbows in really nice and tight to the body helps to do that. So that's exercise one. Exercise two is going to be slow leg lowers. Yeah, getting some more fun ab work going. So we start lying on our backs with our legs extended towards the ceiling, and you introduce a tip into your pelvis, a tilt to the pelvis, so that your lower back is completely flattened against the floor. So if I take my fingertips, I cannot get under my back, okay? And you need to maintain that connection between your lower back and the floor the whole time. And then we just start slowly lowering the legs, and we stop every like 15 or 25 degrees. Hold for 2 seconds, lower, and hold, lower, and hold, lower, and hold till we're almost down to the ground. And if you've made it all the way here without your lower back coming up, then you can reverse the process, all right? If at any point your lower back comes up, reset, start again, all right? Don't just keep trying to muscle through, okay? I know you would probably never think that I was giving you that advice, given everything you know about me as a teacher, but just in case you were confused. If you feel that you're losing that point of connection, stop, reset, start again. All right, so those are our two. I do like these longer sets. It's just nice to be able to get into a bit more of a groove with each exercise, you know, because you don't really have as much of that opportunity when you're sprinting. So this gives us a chance to set a really clear rhythm for ourselves as we go through the exercise, and that can be really fun. Now, one of the things, we were just talking about shoulder engagement, jumping back and forth in and out of that plank position means that I am putting all of my weight for at least a moment on my arms up through my shoulders. So you want to make sure that your shoulders are super engaged, okay? And that they're able to help stabilize and guide the movement of that weight without falling out of position or feeling like they're getting dragged around, okay? So that's a really great place to check in and go, I wonder how my shoulder strength is doing here. Let me make sure that they are actually engaged. Oh man, woo. Slow leg lower is such a great exercise, both for letting us know how our core strength is and for strengthening our core. Because the thing is, I talk a lot about how with many abdominal exercises, it's really easy for us to compensate with other muscle groups and not realize that we're doing it. And so we're not actually using the core, strengthening the core. It's not really possible to do that with the slow leg lowers, assuming that you have your back, your lower back, glued flat to the floor. There's no way for you to be compensating with other muscle groups. So it is my favorite of the abdominal exercises. And honestly, if you're out there really wanting to increase your core strength, that's the exercise I would start with. Just, you can try it a couple of times just to get a sense of where you are, and then just go for it. just use that. It's an easy one to practice, because again, you don't really even need to be in fancy workout clothes to do that one. Like, you could just be at your desk doing work and be like, all right, I want to do a little core strengthening. Just lay down on the floor. You can do slow leg lowers. So barrier to entry is basically zero. And you have this great core activity that will really help to strengthen those muscles. So yeah, just something to think about. I know that at least one of my regular viewers on this stream is interested in core engagement and improvement, so something to keep in mind. All right, we are halfway through, coming back around to those turtle waves. I feel like I'm floating in the middle of the room right now. There is nothing to anchor me to any particular space, which is very, very disconcerting. Whew. But, and I have to keep reminding myself that it will take a little bit of time to fully set up the new space as well. It's not going to be perfect right off the bat, and that's totally okay. So I may be kind of floating in space for a while before I really get a chance to anchor back down. But that's all right, because you know what? We are still going to be here and working out, because perfect is the enemy of good. And we just want to focus on the journey of improvement rather than holding ourselves to a completely unrealistic standard. And it's a good thing to remind ourselves of, because it's really easy for us to start shaming ourselves for not being perfect at everything that we attempt. And that is not what we're here to do. It's not. It's not ever what our goal is. Because perfect doesn't exist. It is not a standard that we want to work towards, because it doesn't exist. And believing that it does causes far too much harm. It causes us to be cruel to ourselves and to not recognize our improvements and the great strides that we make in different activities that we're doing, because we're falling short of this unattainable goal. So I don't ever want you coming here
and going for perfect. All right? I want you to come here and to just work on improving. And that's it. I don't know why the speaker is being so weird right now. Sorry. That's the most important thing, you know? And there will always be things. Wow, yeah, that speaker connection is really not good right now. Huh, weird. But yeah, there will always be ways that we can improve. And that's awesome. You know, that's really exciting because it means that there will always be new things for us to learn and discover and to test out and to see how they fit in our lives and in the work that we're trying to do. And that's really exciting. That sounds far more fun to me than just hitting this mythical perfection standard and then going, all right, nowhere else to go. That's never going to be what it's like. And that's okay. Absolutely, you're getting there. And that's awesome. And that's why, like, I'll talk about, like, the aspirational pose, which is what we're sort of aiming for. Sometimes we need to make modifications to get our strength to the place where we can hit that pose. And also, yeah, if you're going along and you feel that you're just not able to hold that form, stop and reset. Never be afraid to stop and reset. I will frequently not remind you of that enough, you know, because the structure of the class frequently is very much like you start moving and you keep moving until you stop. And that is something that I really want to challenge you to do, but never at the expense of your safety while working out, okay? And I think you know me well enough for that. So if we're doing a long set like that and you're like, I can't hold this, I really need to stop and reset myself and try again, do that. Don't be afraid to do that, okay? You know, because I've said it a million times, that I would rather you do 2 perfect reps of something and sit the rest of the time out than give me 20 reps in a row with bad form, okay? So keep in mind that frequently I will be focusing on offering challenge, and that's my job, and it's important for us to have that external voice that's reminding us that we can push a little harder than maybe our brains think that we can. Like, that's an important part of my job. But it's also important for me to remind you that I'm not living in your body, you are, you know? And that if you are feeling like you're not able to hold, then stop and reset, or stop and rest if you really are like, I just don't think I can finish this set out, okay? We've all had those exercises. We've all had those points. I had so much in this class, and it took me a long time to get to the point where I could really get through the entirety of class without feeling that. And that's okay. I used to stop in the middle of things and just sort of be like, I need a rest. And that's okay. Again, you're living in your body. You know what it needs. Listen to those signals. Be honest with yourself. Don't try to measure up to some bullshit, macho stereotype or anything. It's not worth it. All right. Next set. So we're going to be doing, the first exercise is a side plank from the elbow. And because of the way we're setting this up, you are going to need to make sure that you're alternating the side, okay? So if for my first set, I start on this side on my left arm, for my second set, I need to make sure that I'm shifting over to my right arm. But side planks, speaking of, since we were just talking about ones, so Shoulder directly over elbow, pushing up in that shoulder away from the ground, not letting ourselves sink down into it. Pulling our hips up into the air, not letting them sink down. Reaching that arm up and just holding for 45 seconds. Yes, it's intense. Yes, you can do it. And second exercise is going to be lunge to the hand or elbow. So we're going to, from a standing position, reach a leg back and into that nice long lunge, similar to the Samson stretches in the warm-up. And then one of three things, either down to the hand or down to the hand and then all the way down to the elbow, or if your flexibility is there, straight down to the elbow and then push back to standing and other side. And we just go back and forth. Nice active stretch for our hips. All right. So, everybody ready? Here I am. All righty. So starting with those side planks from the elbow, again, remember to alternate sides so that you're evening yourself out. Not, we don't want one arm that looks like Popeye and the other arm just over here going, meh. So always make sure that if something is focused on one side, that you are evening it out, evening that effort out. So for our side planks, this one's just a held position. All right, we don't have the same movement that we have in the side-to-side planks. And movement can make things a lot easier to maintain because there's a lot more for our brains to focus on. So when we're doing this, I like to talk about the visualization techniques that we can use. So imagining that you have a thread attached to your hip and going all the way up into the ceiling, and it's pulling your hips up. Same with the fingertips here. And so that helps to keep us from starting to sink back down towards the ground, okay? That is a hugely important technique. Breathing is another important thing to do. We don't want to hold our breaths while we are doing those because our muscles still need that oxygen. And so making sure that you are breathing and really bringing that O2 into your body is also super important. Now we're doing our nice lunges to the hand or elbow. Again, if this is a new exercise for you, start by just going to the hand, okay? And just test that out for a few rounds. And you may be like, all right, that's really where my hip flexibility is, and that's fine. Or you may be like, okay, let me test out going to the hand and then down to the elbow, because I think that I can make that work, all right? But always, when you're doing a new exercise, start easier and then gauge where your baseline is, and then determine whether you're ready to up the challenge rating or whether you're like, okay, I think I need to practice here for a while until I build a little more strength and then, or flexibility, or power, what have you. And then I can see about adding in that additional challenge, okay? Never be afraid to stick with a quote-unquote easier version while you're building up that strength, all right? Again, it's all part and parcel of not shaming ourselves for hitting unrealistic standards or goals for ourselves, okay? Super important. And that tends to happen way too much in the fitness industry. A lot of teachers out there with this really like boot camp approach to instruction. And you know, some people thrive there and that's fine. I have always hated it. I've always hated it because it does not take into account people's need for rest. It too frequently shames people into pushing themselves beyond their current performance limits in unhealthy ways that then set them up for injury or for overtraining. And it just kind of sucks. In my not so humble opinion, it kind of sucks. And yeah, I really do not like that approach, and I see it way too frequently. And I feel like, in particular, people who are new to working out, you know, people who are like, well, I want to start working out and I don't really know where to go and how to do that. And then you end up in a class like that with a teacher who's yelling at you and making you feel bad about yourself, and you don't want to keep doing it. And you're like, well, that was unpleasant. I'm not going to do that anymore. And of course you're not, because why on earth would you want to keep doing that if you're just going to be shamed and made to feel like you're failing before you've even left the gate? So yeah, it's important, I think, to make sure that we are teaching people to listen to their bodies and to hold firm to where they are, you know? So on the rare occasions that I end up in a situation where I'm at a class that has an instructor like that, well, I don't end up going back to that class, but also I make triply sure that I am never allowing them to push me into an unsafe situation, you know? So if I'm feeling weakness or pain in, you know, my shoulder or my knee or something like that, and it feels like it's being exacerbated by an activity, I need to pay really careful attention to not getting caught up in that no pain, no gain mentality, and instead reminding myself that no, pain is a signal that my body is sending me. I know how to differentiate between my body just being like, man, I don't want to do it, which is like, okay, now I'm going to push myself, now I'm going to challenge myself, because I can tell that it's much more of a mental roadblock than actual danger that I'm putting myself in. I know how to differentiate between that and, oh no, something weird is happening in a joint, in a limb, in a muscle, and if I keep going like I'm going, I'm going to hurt myself, so I need to pull back. And because I've been working out for so long, I have that ability to understand the differentiation and to not let myself get pulled into an unhealthy situation just because the teacher's yelling at me. But people who are new to working out, they don't have that built up. They don't have that experience built up. They don't have that confidence in their own ability to read their body's signals built up. And it just hurts me to think of how many people, including so many people that I know, who got completely turned away from exercise because they had miserable experiences with it, frequently in, middle and high school. Frequently, did you do it? How did it feel? Oh, sorry, I know it was in the middle of a lecture, but then I saw that message. Your shoulder's okay, right? I've just been lecturing about listening to your body. But yeah, if you have, and I hope that I always do a good job of making people feel as comfortable as possible. I am so proud of you, my dear. So fucking proud, yes. So if you have friends or loved ones who, you know, have been thinking about starting to exercise but have, you know, really bad memories of PE teachers past, you know, I try to create as safe a space as I can because I want people to feel comfortable working out. And I want it to be something that you want to do for the rest of your life. And from my perspective, that's not going to happen if you're getting shamed. So we have fun here. We try to create as safe and as welcoming a space as possible. Also, we're all working out in our living rooms, which is really helpful because it means that you know, crush of humanity and that fear of other people looking at us and judging us gets immediately taken off the table because there's no one around me. I mean, all of you are watching me, but I like, that's different. Like, yeah. So hopefully this is always a space where people are able to feel that way. And if ever you have an experience in class where you don't feel that way, I want you to let me know. It is so important to me to feel that everybody knows that they're welcome, that everybody knows that they can work out, that they absolutely get to be fit no matter your, you know, body shape, size, type, like everybody gets to work out. And yeah, it's important. All right, my friends. So we are gonna finish out. Running slightly later than I meant to. Stop. Okay, we're gonna finish out with just 5 minutes of toe squats, okay? So I'm just gonna set our 5-minute AMRAP timer going, and we are going to toe squat to glory. That sounded weird. So feet hip width apart, keeping our backs nice and straight the whole time we start to squat down. Oh, I can't go any farther because, you know, I have Achilles. So I just let my heels come off the ground, come all the way down here, and then back up, okay? Yeah. So we're just gonna put on that AMRAP timer. There will be one horn midway through, just to let you know that you're midway through. Don't let it change anything about what you're doing. You can take rests if you need to. I just ask that you make sure you're doing the same number of reps between each rest, okay? So if you start out and do 20 reps, and then you're like, all right, I need a break, cool. Please try to do 20 reps each time going forward. If you start out and you get to 50 reps, and then you're like, okay, now I need a break, please be aware that you have now committed to doing 50 reps each time. So, you know, we build towards these things. It's totally doable. I have absolutely done it, but it took me a while to build up towards that place. All right, everybody on your mats. We are gonna finish strong, literally, with one of my favorite squat exercises. And I want you to make sure that you are paying attention to stabilization. So we engage the core in this, and it's really important because we're coming down to this position. I'm balancing on the balls of my feet. And with most balance positions, we try to manage any micro adjustments that we need to make to maintain the balance using the foot and ankle. And so we have a very small surface area to balance on. So it's inherently a more unstable balance than you know, being flat on the foot. So we need to make sure that we're not letting our torso or any of our limbs pull us in unexpected directions, so that then we get down there and we can't hold the balance. So we start, before I even move, I start by engaging those core muscles. And that brings my entire torso under control. And so as I continue down, my core is engaged, And so I get down here, my torso's not going anywhere, I'm not worried about falling out of the position, and I can really balance nice and safely, and then stand back up and be really solid. The other thing is never letting gravity take control, okay? Gravity wants to help. Gravity is there like, oh, this is clearly my moment because you want to get down to the floor and I want to help you in that endeavor. But gravity doesn't have a subtle hand. And so if we're here and we're like, okay, well, I'll just sort of let myself drop down, we're gonna crunch our knees, really unhealthy pressures on them. It's just not going to be good. So even if you're going for fast reps, you need to be in control the whole time. So you see, I'm doing pretty fast reps here, but there's no bouncing at the bottom. I was controlling the movement the whole time, did not let gravity get in there. Gravity does not get to play in this particular sandbox. All right, you are halfway through, my friends, and you can obviously, if you need to stretch out during your rests, we've got our standing quad stretch, which we'll probably do as a stretch at the end of class. Again, I apologize for having to truncate stretching today, but you know, 2 more days to organize the tornado, both here and in the new space. So, and in terms of speeding up, again, don't speed up if you're not there yet. So if you're trying to go for speed and you're like, oh God, I just feel really unsteady on my feet, slow down. This is a great exercise for some nice, slow and steady reps. And right now, we're not trying to do a specific number in a specific timer. So you have the ability to really slow and steady, be confident that you have your core engaged, you have your torso under control, you've got that balance taken care of, and you can hang on the whole time. All right, we have 1 minute left, my friends. 1 more glorious minute of toe squats. 5 minutes really isn't that much time, my friends, which is nice. And just think of how good those quad stretches are gonna feel when we finish. Hey, hey, hey. But see what you can do in this last minute for a final challenge. Maybe see if you can keep going the entire time without stopping. If you can fill this last minute with movement so that you get to the end and you're like, I am a badass. I came, I worked out, and I feel totally ready to tackle whatever else I have going on. Oh, good job, everybody. Woo! Oh, shake those feet out a little bit. That was a lot. Okay, let's do some standing stretches. So we're gonna do that standing quad stretch. 1 foot into the same hand. Pull that knee into your butt as close as you can to really get that stretch in the quad. I recommend having a hand against a wall or on a counter, just so you're not trying to focus on the balance as well. Because I can do that. I can just balance and do the stretch, but then I'm splitting focus. I'm having to put some of my attention towards maintaining the balance, and I'm not able to, all right, switch sides. I'm not able to focus on the stretch, which really should be the focus point for us right now, particularly since we just did 5 minutes of toe squats. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely feeling it in my quads. So yeah, I always just have a hand on something so I know that the balance is going to basically maintain itself, and I can really focus on intensifying the stretch to the best of my ability. All right? And let's do some calf stretches. So I have to use the imaginary wall because otherwise I'll be out of frame, but I'm going to let one leg come behind me, and I want to try and keep that leg straight, and I want to try and drive the heel all the way down to the floor to get that calf stretch. So you may need to push against the wall to get that heel fully down to the floor and intensify the stretch, okay? So that's why we use the wall for that. That allows you to bring your leg a little farther behind you than you might otherwise, and to just intensify the stretch a bit. All right, step back up to that front leg and other side, and you will likely discover that one side feels easier than the other. One side you can go farther back with the leg than the other. These are all totally normal and natural things to discover because we're not symmetrical creatures, much as we wish that we were. Oh, that feels nice though. Whew. And let's shake our arms out a little bit. Just let them swing back and forth. Do. Much better. Take one arm up, bring it across the chest, grab it just above the elbow to really pull that upper arm in to the chest, getting that stretch in the shoulder and down a little into the tricep. Make sure you're breathing. Always. Basically, there's never a time when I am going to tell you to not breathe. Let's go to the other side now. And there are types of activities where holding your breath is actually a useful tool. There are certain types of like Olympic heavy lifting that use a particular breathing technique that does rely on holding the breath while you're in process of the movement. You can tell that it's not an area of expertise for me by the really awkward way that I'm describing it. But this is just to say that for my classes, for the type of movement that I teach, there will never be a time when I do not want you to be breathing, okay? Bringing that new oxygen in, circulating it through the body, helping your muscles to run their energy production systems, and then exhaling, getting all of the junk back out as we need to. So for the classes that I do, let's just roll over the tops of the toes, do that nice little stretch, going up the top of the foot and into the shin. For the types of classes that I do, that's never going to be something that I tell you to do. So always, even if I don't remember to bring it up, always assume that I want you to be breathing, and that your muscles want you to be breathing as well, because they need that help. All right. Whew. Yeah, what a great way to start. Woo, toe squats. I know. I just love them so much. Someday, when I really get into the YouTube content, I'm just gonna have to like do a video that's like how many toe squats can they do in X number of minutes. Yay! I'm glad you're excited. That makes me happy. It always makes me happy when people enjoy the exercises that I clearly favor. Yeah, well, there'll have to be some sort of silly, maybe, just like a meditative, like there's a fire crackling in the background and I'm just doing like 300 squats in a row. Oh my God. Yeah, right? So it's good to have that shift and be like, oh, 5 minutes really isn't actually a lot of time, all things considered. And considering that we've been usually doing 10 minutes, you're like, oh, cool. I can probably do better than I thought I could. Again, it's just always a good idea to try things again, to go back to easier versions so that you can really feel how you've improved. Because that is so motivating when you go back to do an exercise that used to feel really hard, or a number of reps that used to feel really hard, and you're like, wow, this actually feels a lot easier than it used to. And that is so motivating and so much fun to experience. All right, my loves, I have to get ready for D&D and moving the rest of the shit out of this apartment. Yeah. So thank you for joining me on our very last class in this space. And this space has been very good to us. It has taken care of us during a really unprecedented year. And I'm very grateful for it, but I'm also really excited for what comes next. Yes, lovely day for you too, Amanda. So this is the end of the broadcast week, and we will start again as usual on Tuesday at 5:45 p.m. with what is it? Oh, Perpetual Motion. Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. And then Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Thank you, my dear. Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. we have Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Fridays at 6 p.m. we have Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. There'll be a lot more of them on Friday because I'll be in the new house. And then back around to Saturday and the weekend Kickoff. So definitely join me for any or all of those classes. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles are in my end cards, but they're all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you're not able to make the live cast. So definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account, Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated. And if you want to help me keep growing this channel, please do give us a follow. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class stream. I stream 4 days a week. There's a lot more content coming down the pipeline. I love what I do. We have a great community here, and I just want to keep growing it in 2021. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for the well wishes. I'm so excited for you all to see the new space. And to get to work out in the new space. And yeah, so make sure to keep hydrating, make sure to get yourself some food, have an awesome shower, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you back here on Tuesday in a brand new space. Mwah. Have a great day.